Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast, brought to you by Violet Defense. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience you need. Thanks again to Violet Defense for sponsoring the Educational AD Podcast. The Educational AD also wants to thank Varsity Brands, including BSN, Varsity Spirit, and Herff Jones. Varsity Brands, elevating student experiences in sport, spirit, and achievement. The Educational AD also wants to thank Hometown Ticketing. Hometown Ticketing helps thousands of schools across the country seamlessly provide convenient digital ticketing options for their communities and families and their fans. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. The Educational AD also wants to thank Gipper, Vital Signs, Camp Mobile, Booster Digital Displays, and Ephesus Lighting. Thanks to all of these great sponsors. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast, brought to you by Violet Defense. Our guest today is another first, Jennifer Ritch. Jennifer's a certified master athletic administrator. She's currently the assistant principal with the Washoe County School District and also the athletic director at Reed High School in Sparks, Nevada, our first visit ever to Nevada. Jennifer, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Jake. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
Well, we're excited to hear how things are going out in your state. Terrific. And we were just talking about it to our listeners. We're recording this on August 2nd. So this is a very timely episode. You're hearing it just a couple of days after we record it. And for many parts of the country, it's that first day of summer conditioning and a return to sports. So it's going to be exciting to hear what's going on. But first, Jennifer, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school and college, and maybe how your love of sports led you to a career in athletic administration.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm an Air Force brat, and so we traveled everywhere until about elementary school, and then we settled in the Reno Sparks area. And I grew up in Washoe County, going to elementary, middle, and high school. And I went to the University of Nevada, Reno to get my education administrator's degree. And I've been playing sports since about the time I could walk, basically, because it was a part of my family's life and a part of my life. And I started out baseball. I was the first girl in Northern Nevada who played baseball. Girls had their softball league. No one had the baseball league. And my parents went to the baseball commission and said she better be able to play baseball. And I was the first girl to play. And it kind of opened up doors. The second year, I actually ended up going over to softball because a coach came and recruited me. And I was pretty young. And then two girls were in baseball. And then it went from there. It just opened up the world. So I was happy to do that. I've coached probably every single sport. I taught elementary, middle school. I was an administrator at middle school and high school. And now I've been at the high school level for about the last 20 years or so. But I coached probably every single sport, middle school level. They need coaches. You were there teaching, and I loved it. I loved the kids. And then when I played in high school, I played golf, basketball, and softball. And so I did that for 3 of my 4 years. And then my last year, I really focused on golf and softball because that's where I was getting scholarships to play. So I really focused on those too. But moving along after coaching and moving into administration, it was just naturally for me to take over athletics at whichever high school I was in. And I was never an athletic director. I just went straight to be an athletic administrator and working with my athletic director. And it's just been great. I've been at 3 different high schools in Washoe County, and it's been fabulous. Great experience.
Yeah, I always love to hear the stories, and the multi-sport experience, I think, really helps out later on. When you're working in administration, you kind of it as a person. You grew up with it. Talk a little bit about that transition from the teacher coach to the administrative role. What were some things maybe that you did to make that transition a smooth and productive one?
Well, you play sports your whole life, and then you're coaching sports for your teaching career. So you must know everything about athletics. And so that's what you think, and you move along and you're a coach and you move into administration. And all of a sudden, I don't know everything I thought I knew. And I was getting jammed up all the time. I had to stop, take a breath, and say, oh, this is the other side of the curtain that coaches and kids and parents, they don't get to see, is how it actually the schools get rolling. And I had several mentors through my career, and it really just all organized itself for me because I really, really believe in helping the coaches understand their roles and what they can do, and try to get them as any trainings I can get them to take in classes. And we do book studies with our coaches, with our new coaches. We will do a book study here or there. But over my 3 high schools I've been to, which has been about a span of about 22 years at the high school level, I think, it's really just getting to know the coaches, the kids, evaluating the athletic program, seeing what's working well, what's some stuff that you might need to tweak a little bit to get better progress on, and kind of then getting organized and finding your way of how you can best fit to improve the athletic program for the kids.
Oh, absolutely. I love, the term you use, that best fit, because, what works at one school with one AD or one coach, might not be that best fit. So good stuff.
Absolutely.
You talked about mentors, and one thing we do is, we always ask who were those mentors that kind of help get you where you're at. The expression I always like to use is, I still hear those voices in my head when I'm talking to a coach or a kid or sometimes a parent. So whose voice do you still hear?
Great. That is absolutely fabulous. I do. I hear their common sayings they used to say. Oh, yeah. What goes around comes around, and all of those sayings stick in my head when I'm meeting with parents. When I was in middle school, I ran cross country, and the cross country coach I had at the time, Frank Kite, he was just an amazing individual who kind of got me on the right path for athletics, because you come from elementary school and you're playing all the different sports. And he kind of, as an athlete, focused me on having discipline and what it meant to move on. And then I moved to high school, and my golf coach, Pat Cunning, he is just an amazing man. And he kind of helped me. He didn't know what to do with a girl who was pretty good at golf and what the next step should be. And it was a long time ago. So a lot of the coaches back then didn't really know how to help the female athletes and to move on and to go to the next level at college. And so he worked with me all the time. His mom and dad also worked with me. He was an amazing man. And my softball coach, Roland Stallworth, they just really kept me focused on what it meant to be a serious athlete. And they showed me I kind of wanted to do this too. They had characteristics that they were good people and loved kids, and they just took life at a different level. And that involves sports, which was my love. And then when I started being a teacher for Washoe County, all three of those gentlemen were still working for Washoe County. And so they got to see me as a teacher and coach. And I even worked in my career at two of their schools where they were currently working. So that was great. I got to see them in action as an adult through a different lens, through an adult eyes. And they were still just absolutely amazing. And Roland Stallworth he's the athletics and activities director for Washoe County. And he was my softball coach. And he still is right there mentoring me. I can text him, call him whenever I need. But they all three just had that kind, good heart that cared. And good, bad, or ugly, whatever the problem is, they're going to sit you down, talk to you, and try to help guide you so that when you move on, because especially high school is all about practicing what it's going to be like to be an adult and what you'll put up with or how you'll act or treat people when you get in the real world. And all three of those gentlemen really taught me the value of human beings and the goodness in people and incorporating sports into their lives, because that gives all of us, athletes, coaches, and administrators, it gives us a genuine love for the game, but it also helps us take a step back from the emotions and see we're really helping these kids become adult and being good citizens and good people. And that self-discipline is going to help them in any aspect of their lives, not just out on the field or on the court.
Oh, absolutely. We talk about that all the time, that you just don't know what a kid is going through at home. And, when they come to practice, I would always tell our coaches, we want that to be, the best part of their day. Maybe they've had a great day and it's going to be even better, but, maybe they have a crappy day, or maybe they're not excited about going home. Let's make sure that, they have fun, they learn, they're challenged, they get better. No, absolutely. Great stuff. And I was going to ask if you had a chance to supervise, if you will, some of your old coaches back there. It sounds like that was a good experience for you.
Absolutely. Hysterical. They wouldn't let me in the faculty lounge. They would tease me, just really making it hard for me, but it was all in good fun and love, because they knew I loved them. And taking that different role of being an administrator and looking at it differently than that coach lens, that's something that they don't have that experience or knowledge. And so they come to you and ask you questions, the coaches who coached you, and you help them. And so it's really just a process that just goes around. Everyone's helping everyone.
I love that. Everybody helping everyone. You're all on the same team. Good stuff. Jennifer, we get a lot of younger athletic directors that listen to the podcast. And I think it's important for, folks like us that have been around for a couple of years to share that journey of getting involved with your state association and also at the national level. And for someone, who has earned their CMAA. So can you share that briefly? How did you get involved with your state association? How did that lead to the process of getting your CMAA?
Great question. When I was just started taking over athletics, there was this organization. I saw the athletic director in his office, and I think he was trying to get his CAA. I was like, what is this? And he started talking to me about it. I said, how do you get involved in this? Because I coached every sport my whole life, and I never knew that there was an organization that actually looked at the rules through the NIAAA and the National Federation of High Schools, and took those back to your particular state and divvied out the information and worked in every possible subject. And I was really intrigued. And so I ended up starting out, I took 2 classes, and I thought it was a lot of information at me. And I thought, oh my gosh, how can I be an evaluator of teachers, be an instructional leader for everyone, and also do what I love, athletics, and help my coaches and help the school's program just achieve more. And so it was a little overwhelming, and I just kept plugging away at it. I had the Nevada Athletic Directors Association, NADA. There were some people on the committee who'd been around for a long time, more than me, and kind of saw the interest in me and sort of brought me along and got me interested. First, I was just in charge of the social committee, because we rotate from Northern Nevada, Reno, and Sparks to Las Vegas. And so every year we flip-flop, and the conference is in one place or another. And so I started out, I can do social stuff. I'm friendly, so I can organize that. And then it slowly led into helping out with membership. And then now I'm the professional development coordinator for the state of Nevada. And now I'm looking at people saying, you're just starting, you're just coming out. These are classes you need to take. You want to get your CAA. And when you get that, you want to get your CMAA. And we need to, a lot of people, they don't know about high school athletics other than what they see at a game. And especially, and people down at the district office, they don't know. They just think, oh, you have coaches and somehow everything gets done. And that's kind of the extent of it. And not understanding this is a huge educational program. And it's very serious through the NIAAA and FHS. And it's really showing them we are professionals. We take our, even though it's sports, we take it extremely seriously. And we want to learn everything from the laws to what others are doing in other states, just to learn and to help our kids get better, and to have an association in Nevada that everyone can be proud of. And so I just kind of slowly got in, and then people started recruiting me, and it's always a small group doing a lot for everyone. And so I just jumped in and helped. And next thing I know, now I'm doing all these other things for NADA. And what I've noticed with our organization is a lot of the NADA, a lot of his board members are either retired or getting closer to retirement. And it's now the call is how to get these younger ones who want to make a difference, who want athletics to be their career, and they want to be a part of it, of getting them involved, to say it's more than just your school. It's more than just what's going on in your athletic department. It's more than what's going on in your district. It's statewide endeavors to make things better for the coaches, the officials, the parents, the kids, and the athletic departments in the high schools. And it's also to show people that this is a professional organization, and there's a lot that people just do not know, they're not aware of. And when they start to find out, you take classes in the national conference, while it's a lot of fun, it's a very serious, and you learn so much that you get a little overwhelmed because there's so many great topics to learn. And that's kind of how I jumped into it. And now I'm at the other end looking, how can we get these athletic directors who have coached forever, or maybe not, or maybe those athletic administrators who've never coached and didn't know what athletics were, they just happened to get it, is what they're going to be over in their school, and showing them there's so much to get involved with. And we need the younger generations to start helping out, because all of us are retiring or getting close to retirement. And pretty soon we won't be up to date on all of the new things that are out there. And so we need new blood, definitely. So they definitely, if you're new to athletics in an athletic department, getting involved at your state level is super important, and it will just help you and your peers at other schools.
Oh, just a great story and great focus on that point of getting involved. And you also talked about, and I remember being this way, you just don't know what you don't know. And, taking that first LTI course, I was just hooked. And so.
Me too.
Yeah.
It was scary.
Yeah. Sounds like you're doing a lot of work out there in your state. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
For our listeners, we are visiting with Jennifer Ritch, Certified Master Athletic Administrator in the Washoe School District in Sparks, Nevada. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be coming back. Let's hear a little bit more about our podcast sponsor, Violet Defense. Once again, the Educational AD Podcast wants to thank Violet Defense. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and the experience you need. Thanks again to Violet Defense for sponsoring the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back to our conversation with Jennifer Ritch, Washoe School District in Sparks, Nevada. Jennifer, one of the things we try to do with the podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot. What are some best practices that you've seen in your area, or maybe even their initiatives that you put into place at your school? And when you look at, you can say with equal parts pride and humility, boy, we really do this well. Okay. What are some best practices you can share?
Well, this is my third high school doing athletics. And when I came to the school, I was presented with, we need your help getting organized and really taking the department to a new level. They needed a veteran to come in and see what was happening. And so many amazing things, the coaches and the kids, it was fabulous seeing everything. But it was a little disjointed. And so I think the best practice that myself and my athletic director, Ryan Sims, what we did was we created a coach's handbook. And it wasn't just the normal, the general things that people have in. We tried to break it down into little pieces. When you have questions, what about transportation or substance abuse, and where can you go, and what are the district policies, and how does the school handle these things? And people get them disjointly in emails, but if they had either the electronic version or the paper version where a coach could just look at and see something on Title IX or facilities or diversity, they could go to that section and read a little bit about it, and then they can contact myself or my athletic director, Ryan Sims, and get further questions answered. But that gave them a sense, especially with your new coaches, who, especially if they're off-campus coaches and not educators, they're not there, they're not teachers, they really don't know how to order uniforms or who to talk to or what's going on or what to do with officials or how to get your assistant coaches on board. And so we kind of made chapters and put all the information into it to help those new coaches as well as the veterans, to remind them a little bit what to do in an emergency, what to do if it's active shooter or if it's a natural disaster, things like that. It just put everything. There wasn't a real process of information. And so a lot of people were just really out there doing their own thing. And they were using sort of versions of the school colors, but they weren't really. And I thought, we need to be branded. When we go out there and you see cross country, football, golf, any sport, you want to be able to look at those kids and look out there and say, that's Reed Raiders. That's who the Reed Raiders are. And so it's getting the coaches on board with the same colors, what to use, which type of blue, which type of gold, the logos. And it's really because there's so much to coaching that gets overwhelming. And we wanted it to be an easy access to remind veteran coaches or to really help out the young ones, and putting just structures in place where they get approval through. So they send me their logo or designs or their colors, and I approve before they go to the vendor. And to me, that is a great best practice, because a lot of people don't think of all the minute questions. You spend a year, write down every question a coach asks you, and at the end of the year, take all of those and put it in a coach's handbook along with your other important major topics, because you can answer a lot of those. It'll be different coaches, but same questions. So we kind of did that, and it took us about a year and a half. And I'm pretty proud to say that our coaches are on board, got the colors. There's a few coaches who've been coaching for 20 years here at Reed, and so they're kind of the old school colors from way back when they went to Reed as students, and so they get to keep their colors. The rest of the organization's going to our royal blue and gold, but and then when we have to respect their history of being students here and being longtime coaches, and when they leave, a new coach comes in, we'll get those two teams to get on board, because it's important to brand yourself. People need to know, oh, that's your school, that's your mascot, this is the front door of our school. And it's so important to be united. And I think as a best practice, that's probably your major goal, in how to communicate, how to talk to each other. I think it took a bit. I just finished my 5th year, starting my 6th year here, and it took a few years to get people on board and get it to smooth running. But once you start doing that, and so the handbook, and then taking that into coaches meetings, and so our season coaches meetings that we discuss culture, climate, diversity. We go through parts of the handbook of those minute questions that a lot don't know, and remind. And so to me, that was the best practice we put in place here at Reed to get going in the right direction. And they were amazing before I got here. I'm just trying to chug along and help Reed. If I could, at the end of my career, if I can look back and say that I helped improve a school in any way that was already an amazing school, then I will think I did a good job when I retire.
Oh, without question. And this should come as no surprise. You led with, the idea of organization, getting everything in the book, and then you followed up with communication, communicating that. Those are two of the most frequently mentioned tools in, shameless plug, the athletic director's toolbox. So, well
Terrific.
done there. Okay.
Absolutely.
Jennifer, we talked at the top of the show how we're recording this on August 2nd. Many states, including Florida, this is the first day back. I don't want to do a deep dive, but what are you doing in Washoe County in Nevada? And we understand it might be different in other parts of the country. What are you doing right now, August 2021, with regard to COVID? Are there still restrictions? Is it, back to normal? Just real quickly, what's going on as far as the COVID response for this school year at this moment in time?
Well, as we all know, the last couple of years has just been round and round and a little crazy, and mandates changing daily sometimes. And we went into this year, well, we ended the year thinking we are going back to all kids full time, full classrooms, all sports. We're just going to start over as if it was a few years ago. And right now the mandate is masks, and trying to keep at least 3 feet, but masks indoors, and except for such as volleyball, the girls that are actually out on the court, they don't have to wear their masks, but the coaches and the kids on the bench have to wear their masks. And so indoors. Outdoors, no masks are required. And we're waiting because the governor has a few other mandates that he's going to put out, and we're guessing probably Thursday or Friday. But the big one right now is masks. And I'm also the athletic assistant principal over buildings and grounds. And so I have a lot of the sanitation and the wipes to help the computer labs and things. So we're still doing the masks and the wipes and the sanitation right now in Nevada. I think I lost you.
Nope, I am a professional podcaster and I can push my unmute button. Okay. Um, I was saying that appreciate you sharing that. And again, we understand it might be different in other parts of the country. Here in Florida, I think we're probably fairly similar to what y'all are doing there in Nevada. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Okay. Hopefully everybody stays safe and we can, as you said, move forward. Jennifer, another question that I've been asking athletic directors for a little over a year now revolves around this idea of social awareness, social justice. And this is my question. What are some things that we can do as athletic directors better? How can we do a better job of being socially aware for our kids, our coaches, our community? You got any ideas?
That is a fabulous question because that is really on everyone's minds, and those are topics that come up. And outside of district trainings, educate yourself, read, see what's up, Google what's out there at other, go to NFHS, see if there's anything out there that you can bring back to your school. We see it a lot with playing time and who gets what playing time, and maybe not the best athletes, and the parents want their kids to be playing all the time, and they want things to be equitable. But with sports, there's a different cause there. We want to win, and coaches play their players. And we've seen that the playing time a lot with families. With the athletes, my biggest, I guess, idea would be listen to the athletes and train your coaches so your coaches are aware. I mean, it's gone are the days where the coaches I had, and I probably was, where it's my way or the highway, and you just do these things and you listen to your coach and you're running laps and all of that. And that's gone now, and you have a different type of kid, and they need to be heard and they need to be listened to, their concerns. And if they're not playing, sit them down. The coaches should sit them down and have a conversation on what they could do to maybe improve their skills a little bit. And I think there's a lot of kids, like you said earlier, who we have no idea what's going on at their home, if they're working 3 jobs, if they're babysitting, if they're taking care of their families. We have no idea. Boyfriend, girlfriend troubles. I mean, the normal, as well as there's a lot going on with these kids. And through COVID, I think we saw the anxiety that a lot of the athletes were having. And I think we have to listen and communicate. Those are my 2 big suggestions, is listen and communicate. And they've got ideas. I always say to the people that I work with and the kids that my way is not the right way. It's just my way. If we have other ways to do things, let's give it a shot and try. But we need to listen and communicate. We need to find out what's going on in these kids' minds when they come out, because they're not just coming out to play basketball or swim. They've got other things going on, and to them it's traumatic, or they're big deals. And we'll be better coaches and we'll be better athletic departments, and the kids will have a safe place, and they might be better athletes because their coach or their athletic department listened to them.
Yeah, absolutely. The communication thing just keeps coming through for you. But again, listening to your athletes and even listening to your coaches, somebody might have a great idea. One of the things I have in one of my presentations is, hopefully you've never worked for someone who says, we've never done that before, or we've always done it this way before. And they're not
Right.
interested in new ideas. I think that's just a morale killer. Let's try to find a way to get better,
Yeah.
So good stuff. Well, Jennifer, this has been really cool. For our listeners, this has probably been the hardest I've ever had to work to get an episode recorded. Jennifer and I both had things that were going on, but we're laughing about it now. But we're not done yet. We always like to wrap up with what we call the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you're certainly a very successful athletic administrator. But right now, I'm going to task you with sending out a brand new athletic director on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 items in their toolbox. What 3 things are going to go in Jennifer Rich's athletic director toolbox?
That's a toughie because there's so many amazing things out there, and we never stop learning. It's always, however, I think ask questions. And because you might get, if you're a new athletic director, you've been coaching your whole life, and don't make the mistake I made where you think you know everything because you were a player and you were a coach. And ask questions because it's the other side of that curtain. You don't know what you don't know. And there's so much out there, and it's okay to ask questions. And every person I've ever met that involved in athletics, they are there to help you, and you can reach out to anyone, but ask questions. That's a big one because there's all that little stuff you don't know. The second one, I would say, show up to a bunch of practices and a bunch of games. The kids will recognize that. The parents will see it. Your coaches, you go to some away games and they look up and they're so excited to see you that you were there. And then when you come back the next day, if they're teachers on campus, go chat with them about the game and see what they were thinking. Win or loss, it doesn't matter. But when the athletes and the coaches and the parents see you at things, they get more comfortable coming up, and you can nip a lot of issues in the bud, but you also get, it's all about building trust, and you will build a lot showing up to practices. Just hang out. You don't have to do or say anything, but they see you, and that's important. My third is probably educate yourself a little bit, find out what the district policies are, what your school has in place, read some handbooks. What's the fundraising that is allowed in your district or at your site? For here, we go off of what the district provides for us. So know that, because the fundraising, there's some things you can do, you can't do. Can you give out gift cards? There's a whole bunch that you don't know. And meet with your bookkeeper, because I guarantee you, she or he has policies in place where how to make a deposit. What do you do with loose coin? What about purchase orders or check requests? Or what's the timeline they want to see if you want to use the credit card? And they're very specific. They have memorandums that they've pulled from the district that they have to follow, and they're not being mean when they say no or we can't do it this way. And so then you find out all that information and you educate your coaches, because you want, the thing I believe in my job is I'm here to make your job easier. And so
Absolutely.
if you're an athletic director, I'm here to make my athletic director's life easier, and my coaches and the bookkeeper. And I want to ensure that I listen and I hear her when I've got some coaches I need to go have a conversation with. But I'm also trying to educate my coaches on the proper policies. And as an athletic director, there's probably a district student activities funds, how the money can be spent, how it can't, or a district general funds, or what to do with those fundraising monies that comes in and how you can utilize it and spend it. And that's the stuff no one wants to think about, because that's not fun, and that's not out there getting involved and we're being active. But that's the nuts and bolts of the game. And you're the one as an athletic director that when things don't quite go right, you're the one that's got to go have those conversations, or you're the one that has to educate them the best they can. And everyone makes mistakes, and it's going to happen repeatedly. But if you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing what's right for kids, then you'll be okay. But definitely learn about the money and fundraising and spirit packs and how much coaches can charge. And that's huge. And that's what gets a lot of people in trouble, is the financial side. So that'd be my number 3, I think.
Oh, I mean, all of those are great, and you're absolutely right. Budget and handbook. They're not, the sexy items, but, they
Yep.
can certainly derail you as an administrator if you are not following those procedures. Great, great ideas. Jennifer, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
Well, they can email me probably at jritch@washoeschools.net, and it's spelled WASHOE schools plural SCHOOLS.net. So jrich@washoeschools.net. That's probably the best way to get hold of me.
Okay. And that email address is also on the NIAAA portal, which is another resource I encourage ADs to
Definitely.
check out. Jennifer, thanks so much for being on the podcast. All the best as you open the 2021-22 school year.
Well, thank you. We're hoping it's going to be a fabulous year.
All right.
It was great talking to you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. To our listeners, thanks as always for tuning in. Remember, the Zoom recordings of these interviews are uploaded to the Educational AD YouTube channel. Thanks again for listening to this episode. Come back again next time for another version of the Educational AD.